So you wanted to talk about threat lists, and I was just saying how you would know more about it than I would, so maybe it should be your video, but maybe you can even explain it to me.
Yeah,
I don't get the idea of a threat list.
So here's the thing, right? And this is why... So most of the threat lists we see now...
Especially in an event that discourages disclosure.
That's exactly where we're going with this. Exactly.
Great.
So most threat lists on the debate subreddit, by nature of PF being the most popular, are like, what's the threat list at this PF tournament and this place, right?
Right.
And there's two reasons I think people do that, really, and one of them is a primary reason, right? And that primary reason is they're hoping that their name is going to be in that list. That's really what it comes down to. These kids post threat lists for tournaments they're going to and hope that someone's going to say that they're sick debate and they are a threat at this tournament, right? Like, that's really what it comes down to. Because you see this because, like, sometimes it's like, what's the threat list for Harvard, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it's like, what's the threat list for California? What's the threat list for the Silicon Valley? What's the threat list for boy-girl teams in California who go to Mission San Jose? Right? Like, whatever. It's just so... It's just really... And I'm such a jerk. I go on basically every one of these posts and I just go, not you. It's not you. That's what... You want to know how I know? Because the good teams don't post, like, threatless things.
Fishing for this,
like, they should know they're good enough, right? And if they don't, then, boy, you're in trouble, like, down the line. But bottom line, like, I think the first reason people do it is for validation. And the second reason is for prep, right? But that's not the case in PF.
Because you don't
disclose.
And you don't... And the idea that people would, like...
Prep them. Well, exactly, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
prep out answers. They're like, oh, so you're cheating.
So, you know, not to... So, Ishan from Mission, in that video that got removed against the Bens from Nueva, like, literally says, like, oh, we never prep anyone out. And we were national champions or whatever, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, fuck, so sick.
Let's take that at face value.
Yeah, take that at face value.
Yeah,
right?
great.
It's
this activity
so you can win a national champion
without preparing against anyone.
Yeah, without preparing against anyone.
Seems to invalidate the need for a threat list.
Yeah, right. And it made sense in policy in an LD because there's like the wikis and like all just for context in college, like everyone in evidentiary format, so policy and LD, post like all of their apps, their broken ACs. And a lot of schools now post their NCs and post their NRs and their ARs, right? Their rebuttals for both those, right? So, like, Wiki posts, like, a ton of stuff, right? You can just jack everything Wiki writes. Right. We do. Because, you know, you got to know what you're... But, like, literally, my prep for nationals every year, like, I wasn't at NFA this year, but I was at home, was just Steve being like, we're going to hit this person from Wiki or Missouri or Truman. Yeah. Can you write the one NC to it? And that's all I would do. I would literally just go through all their evidence and be like, here's the answer to that, here's the answer to that, right? And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't because they're ready for it, right? Yeah. But it leads to higher level debates because you're prepared for what they're going to say.
What I think it also is that young people...
The young folk.
I know. It's such a grouchy old man thing to say, but it's insane to me working with younger kids how much they model their behavior off of each other. They like look around and they're like, what's everyone else doing? And then they do that, which makes it really frustrating to coach at a different level than where the rest of the coaching staff is at, right? So like say I'm prepping a kid for a local middle school tournament. Every step of the way, I have to fight them on something because it's like, well, that's not how anyone else is doing it. And it's like, right. When you do something better than everyone else, then by definition, it's different than everyone else. And if you want to be the best person, you are going to be the one that... Well, I mean, of course, you could be different from everyone else on the other end of the bell curve, right? But you're going to be on one end of the bell curve being different than the majority because otherwise you wouldn't have stood out and succeeded as the best.
In all of these videos thus far, I like esports. I like video games, like competitive gaming. And so that's like a lot of my analogies, and I think that some of the kids will know them, right, depending on the game. But like this is a thing in League of Legends that people have talked about forever, right? Where North America's problem at every single international event is they go in and they play what's called like the global meta, right? So what is Korea doing? And we're going to do that.
Yeah.
But Korea is better than you at doing that because
which
you're just
happens in debate
them.
all the time.
And that
so
happens
this is
exactly.
huge for our region where we compete, coach in the college circuit, because he coaches at a 4-year school, and in our region is the debate powerhouse.
Yeah. Thanks for not coming to the tournaments, Berkeley.
Oh, right. Berkeley's in our region.
Yeah,
I forgot because they're never
just
at...
better.
Well, they're better. They're just never at any of our tournaments. This is like, well, I never see those guys. And then I coach a community college program in that same region. And before I came on coaching, and largely still, a lot of the community college coaching and competitors and whatever is based off of like, either you're not competitive at all and you're just like, here's how I did it in the 70s. Go try that. That didn't work? Wow. Or it's like, well, I used to coach UOP, or I used to go to UOP. Let me teach you how to do that. Or like, let's try this. And it's these community college competitors who weren't recruited, never did debate before, don't have the resources, they don't have as many coaches, they don't have the level of feedback, and they're trying to do the same things that a school like Pacific is doing, and you'll beat teams that you're better than, but you would have beat them anyway. You'll never beat UOP trying what UOP does, because they're always going to be better at it than you. And the success that my program had was like, what can we do that's different? What do we have to offer that isn't just a worse version of someone else's thing? And it's important to like recognize and use your resources, right? Now we've gone way off topic. But when I work with a team, right? Like say we're trying to get ready for state or nationals, I always ask them, how many hours a week do you have to commit to this, getting ready? And they're always like, as much as you want. Like, that's not what I need to know. I need to know how many hours in the week.
Can I count on you to be there?
Because if you say 10 hours a week, I'm going to plan those 10 hours very differently than if you say 2 hours a week. And if you say 10 hours a week and you only do 2 hours a week, that is going to be way worse than if you had
just
said 2 hours a week and then we did that, because you plan based on what you have.
Tasks take as long as you allocate.
Right. And with like resources and like who you are and whatever, you look at what you have, what you can do, and then you figure out, how do I best work with that? How do I best optimize that so that I'm like the best team I can be, instead of trying to, I made my kids watch Cool Runnings, which by the way, we made another video and I was like, what movie is it where he says if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it?
Yeah.
It was Cool Runnings. And yeah, like the whole point is like, you'll never bobsled the Swiss way better than Switzerland. So if you're Jamaica and you want to be the best team you can be, figure out how Jamaica does bobsledding. And that's what I think is true for your school and your team and your partner, or you alone, more than any other, like trying to model after some other school. Like I think it's important to see what is succeeding and get ideas and things like that, but I think another part of the whole threat list idea is like, well, which people should I be learning from and copying and watching? And that's not how it works, or else you would see more similarities the farther out you got into out rounds, where I feel that most tournaments it's the other way.
Opposite, yeah.
You see the most similar teams in prelims, and then once you start getting into deeper and deeper out rounds, the teams get more and more specialized and unique and have like their own characteristics.
That's what brings me to sort of like my final last thing I think you need to touch on before just summarizing, which is just styles make debates and make results, right? By the end of the year, Berkeley's A team was just like objectively the best team in the country. They just were this year, and they probably were last year too. I mean, their B team won nationals last year, right? But they're the best team in the country for sure. Watched them a lot of times, and it's just unbelievable, especially on the negative. They just seemed like they couldn't be beaten. But throughout the year, Texas Tech was beaten up on Berkeley like all the time, just destroying them, right?
Yeah.
And like last year, Lewis and Clark always seems to be the team, and specifically Kate used to just beat Berkeley. Like it was wild, like all the time, and just on like random stuff, right?
Yeah.
And not like random like bad, but just
Sure,
like
sure.
things other teams weren't trying to beat them on,
Yeah.
right? And for us, like at Pacific, like Berkeley just always skull crushes us because of like their style match. I mean, they're really good, so it's not just their style match. They're just excellent debaters, excellent coaches, like they're great. But stylistically, like they do so many things that present problems for Pacific because like we have to be unconditional on the negative and blah 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 blah, right? And we have to be topical, which gives certain advantages to either side. But like knowing that, you need to understand that if you cultivate your own style, you can then design that around the team, right? Like how do I adapt when I do hit that team, right?
Yeah.
Do we do K versus K debate? Do we want to go into their wheelhouse or ours?
Yeah.
And it's cool to say there's some debater who I like the way they debate and I want that to influence me, right? But like it's the same thing with music and everything else, right? Like if you just play BB King covers, you're just going to be a shit BB King.
Well, and this actually goes back to that. I was watching the masterclass for Penn and Teller. And they were talking about, they were making a music analogy that I'll expand on. And they were saying the way you learn an instrument is you pick the best person, the person who most inspires you, most wants you to play the music, and then you try to learn exactly how they do that thing. And all of the places in which you're inadequate become your style, right? Every aspect of where you're short of perfect becomes your style, and you learn to utilize that, right? I don't remember if it was B.B. King or, Chuck Berry or who, but it was the guitarist of that era who is now credited for inventing the bend, which is huge in guitar music, said he did it because he was bad at playing slide guitar. That instead he was bad at sliding his hand up, so to make up for it, he just bent the string so that the note would go up smoothly because he couldn't do it the other way. And it's like huge. That's what style is, right? And it's utilizing what you're good at and what you're not good at, and trying to maximize those benefits. And part of saying that is to say, don't worry what other people are doing as far as what you're modeling, like try to optimize your stuff. But what it's also saying is that your threat list isn't necessarily
relevant
accurate.
to you. It's not a threat to you.
It's not accurate. You don't know what your matchup with that person is. Maybe they're easier for you to beat than the threat list would suggest, or maybe it's way harder.
And maybe they had a good case on a different topic or something to that effect, right? Like there's just different advantages, right? Like it's pretty easy to tell if you're honest with yourself and if you pay attention to the scene who the best 5 or 10 teams in the nation are in any format of the debate by just following along, right? You just kind of know. And this year, I think actually exactly the teams. I sat down with a buddy at the beginning of the year for Nationals and Parlay, and we're like, all right, if we had to do like top 5 teams in the nation, we were like Western Washington, whoever, like the A team at Berkeley, Texas's A team, William Jewell and Rice.
Yeah.
And the finals of Nationals was like Western Washington won the national championship, Berkeley won the national championship, Texas Tech won the 3rd national championship and was in semifinals and like went deep at all of them.
Yeah.
Rice was in finals, and Jewell didn't go necessarily that deep in either side, but were like one of the best teams in the country all year long. Yeah. And it's like you just know because you know who's good and who's not, right? And it doesn't matter who they debate; they're going to be good. But I think that's about it. Like threat lists don't matter that much, and like if you're not good, you're going to lose anyway. And if you are good, you don't need to worry about it, right? You need to worry about imposing your will. You don't want to play the other team's game if possible. You want to drag them into your wheelhouse and then beat them with experience.
Beat them on your level.